recording now. All right, again, only use first names, and we go from there. Now, good morning. How are we? We're good, whatever. I'm going outside today. It's too nice to not be outside. It's just the way it is, okay? Now, I asked you guys, and you guys had been assigned a number of things in the Gilded Age. I gave you two assignments on the Gilded Age. I missed that. Now, of those two things, okay, we talked, we're going to go over the second set of questions, and then I'm going to briefly go over the progressive era and introduce the progressive era to you guys, and I'm going to ask if any of you have any significant questions regarding the Gilded Age, and I'll answer those. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, so we looked at, in the Gilded Age, we've got vertical integration and horizontal integration. Vertical integration is when you control every single step of the process. So I think I used this example the other day when I talked about the farms and stuff. So like you would be McDonald's, okay? And McDonald's owns the McCattle, and the McCattle are on a McFarm. And the McFarm is then, the McMeat is then shipped on the McRail cars to the McSlaughterhouses where the animals are McSlaughtered, and then they go on the McDonald's air car. Everything would be controlled by McDonald's. That's vertical, owning every single step of the process. That's vertical. And that's illegal today. And the thing is like you think to yourself, well, I see the McDonald's trucks. Those aren't trucks owned by McDonald's. Those are trucks that McDonald's rents from a different trucking company. And they say to the trucking company, we're going to pay you to put our logo on your truck. And so that's why you see Walmart trucks and Amazon trucks, even the little Amazon cars. Those aren't actually owned by Amazon. Amazon rents the cars. They rent that fleet, and they put Amazon logos on them. And then when Amazon's contract runs out, then they won't have Amazon written on them anymore. It'll be whatever else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things, too, that in terms of vertical integration, that's what John D. Rockefeller did. Rockefeller owned everything. Rockefeller he owned the oil. He owned the land to which he got the oil. He owned the pipelines, the railroads, the machines. He owned everything. And what Rockefeller used to do is he used to actually go into towns, and he would actually make sure that he could put his factories and refineries up in areas where other people already had their stuff. And then what he would do is he would then lower his price against everyone else's, and then he would go so low that the other people couldn't compete against him. And then in doing so, he would essentially be outbuying everyone, and then they couldn't do anything about it. And then finally, when those companies had to sell their company, he would then buy their company. He would reopen their company under his name and jack the prices up. That's how ruthless he was. And that's like wicked illegal today. You cannot do that today. That's super duper illegal today. So it's kind of a big deal. Now in terms of that, horizontal integration is when you only control one step in the process. So for example, if you're the only glass company in the nation that makes glass for phones, and so Apple has to use your glass company. Samsung has to use your glass company. LG has to use your glass company. You're not the only glass company out there, but in order to make phones, you're the only glass company that makes glass for phones. That's horizontal, owning one step in the process. Does that make sense? Capiche?
Yeah.
Okay. If you have questions, do the little hand raise thing. That way I can see it on the right side. I'll just keep scrolling up and down. Okay?
I raised my hand.
All right. Yeah, what's up, T?
Going back to the Amazon trucks, do you think at least a little bit of the trucks, something like they own, like maybe per se one, because it's
They don't own any of them. No, they don't own any of them, because if they did, it would automatically be a monopoly. Because what they do is they have to have competition. So they have to have, like, Amazon has their own little trucks, but also UPS delivers for them too. So Amazon delegates to different companies to ship their products. They don't have just one. The Amazon truckings, the Amazon trucks you see, that's just one company that Amazon's paying. But UPS is also sending goods via Amazon as well. And actually, so does the U.S. Postal Service. Doctor, what's up? Justin.
Oh, yeah. Um, so you said that vertical integration is illegal, obviously, but
Yes, both
couldn't
both of them
well,
are illegal. Both
okay,
vertical and
couldn't
horizontal.
couldn't companies still want to like purchase their own trucks just so they didn't have to rent them?
They
And that-
can, so long. That's a great question. They can, so long as they don't control a certain percentage of their shipping market. They can control a certain amount of the market, but they can't control a majority of their market. So they can only control maybe, like, I'm making a number up here because I don't know the exact number because that's like a federal law type thing that I don't know of. Maybe they're only allowed to control 20% of their shipping fleet. Does that make sense? Like they can't
they
have
can,
a majority. They can't have like
they
51
can,
or 72.
but they can't own more than 20% of the trucks that they have.
Yeah,
Basically.
there's like a certain number in there, and the number is below 50%. I just don't know what the number is.
That was like everything, like with the chicken owning and all of that stuff too.
Yep. Jake, what's up, Bubba?
How was Rockefeller successful if he made his oil refineries right next to other oil refineries and made them for a more expensive price?
So what he would do? No, he would actually make his cheaper. So let's say
Oh,
there's a quick trip across the street from a racetrack. You ever notice that one gas station is always cheaper than the other?
yeah.
They do that on purpose. And then every now and then the other company will say, okay, we're going to try to go lower than them for a couple of days. And then, but there's always a point to which like that's as low as they can go. And so Rockefeller would make his stuff so dirt cheap that other companies didn't stand a chance. Like no one ever drives around and says like, oh, I need to find the most expensive gas to buy. You're an idiot if you do that. Like
And then-
you always look for the lowest price. And Rockefeller's company was so big that he was able to make his gas so cheap, his oil so cheap. As funny as it is, a FedEx truck and an Amazon truck just drove by.
And then once he started rolling and getting wealthy, did
Mhm.
he higher his prices? Did he
Yeah, he
increase
raised his prices more. But one of the things they did but
Thank you.
Rockefeller made his prices affordable, so that way people could buy his product. He just wanted to make sure that nobody bought any other products but his. So he would sometimes have a price that would be not necessarily really low, but he might be the only person in town that sold oil. Or there'd be another company and most people would buy his stuff versus their stuff because they knew that his was the standard oil company. It was the standard. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Justin, what's up?
So I have another question, but it's on
Yep.
it's on horizontal integration. So
Okay.
so you said how there's only one company that would own the glass. So couldn't another person just like make their own company out of glass? I don't understand. Like, couldn't they?
No, so it's the ability to like if you think about this is the best way I think about it. There's always someone who invents the thing first, right?
Okay, so was it only for a certain amount of time that person owns the glass?
Yeah. So Sherman Antitrust Act and all that stuff, it's only for a certain amount of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And from that point, then you have to enable competition. But
Yeah.
like Apple's iPhone, like Apple was the first phone to do the whole touchscreen thing. That was the first phone to do that. They couldn't say to other phone companies, you can't do a touchscreen thing. You can use a different technology to make it touchscreen. You can't be the only phone company that controls that kind of technology. That's kind of like, having control over the wheel, and then other companies being like, "Oh, we can't put wheels on our cars." No, of course you can put wheels on your cars.
Mr. Barry, are you talking about like getting a patent so that someone else can't copy?
Yeah,
what you
it's the
do?
same. It's the same concept as the patent stuff. It's the same exact concept.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, continuing back with the integration stuff. Now, the reason why Apple has Microsoft, Nike has Reebok, Coke has Pepsi, Volkswagen has everyone else is because of these guys. Like these guys made it so that you had to have competition. Because think about if there was only one car company out there, or one gas company, or one phone company. If there was only one of those companies, then they would have complete control over the entire market. and then they could do whatever they wanted with prices. They could literally control all of people's lives. They could literally say, like, we're not going to sell this product to the market, and then the entire nation would suffer. And we don't want that. That would be horrible, because then it's the big businesses who are in control, not the actual people. And since the actual people don't have any control, that's a problem. TB.
I would say that the only company that does not really have that much competition is Dick's Sporting Goods, because Sports Authority went out of business. So
that's
kind of easier for them.
So that's a great point, but the only thing is that Dick's is a national chain, and there are other national chains, but they only operate regionally. So, for example, in the Northwest, like in Washington and Oregon, there's other sporting stores. In New England, there's Eastern Mountain Sports, and that's like a Dick's Sporting Goods as well. But we don't see it because that's only in certain regions. So Dick's is a national brand, but there are a ton of regional brands that people go to. Academy Sports is also their competition.
Is Dick's Sports in New England and Oregon and those places?
Yes,
Or
they
the
are.
Places.
Yes,
Okay.
they are. Okay. So going back to these guys. So Rockefeller owned 90% of the oil, and then Standard Oil was eventually broken up. And so we have a ton of companies around today because of that. Remember, you saw the little infographic of like BP and all those companies like ExxonMobil. Those companies exist because of Rockefeller's oil company being broken up. Bish?
Gosh.
So it's kind of cool. Like the Gilded Age still lives today because things were broken up back then, and that's why they had to be broken up by the Sherman Antitrust Act. Now, what happened to Chicago in 1871? You guys can just yell it out loud.
Burned to the ground.
It burned to the ground. That was the best thing, aside from the Cubs winning the World Series. That was the best thing that ever happened to Chicago. Okay? And the reason why was because now the city needed to be what?
Rebuilt.
Rebuilt. And what did they rebuild it out of?
Steel.
Steel. So now cities are being built in which direction?
Up.
Up. So cities are being built up. And now with Carnegie's steel and with the invention of steel, now cities are not being built horizontally. Now we're seeing massive steel buildings being built vertically. And so because of this, we see a brand new type of city. If Chicago had not burned to the ground, we might not have seen a vertical city until maybe 20 years down the road. So if Chicago had not burned to the ground, the concept of building up instead of out, that would have been completely different. So that's why Chicago, New York, even Cleveland, which no one cares about, Pittsburgh, these cities now all of a sudden got built up because of Chicago being burned down. Now, this is actually a really cool question. What invention do you think made it possible for cities to be built up? And it's not steel. There's an invention that makes this important and possible. What do you think it is? You can yell it out.
Crane.
Rebar?
Not the crane, not the rebar. Those are good
Steel.
guesses, though.
Steel.
Not steel. Not stairs. Someone's on the right track, though.
Elevator.
Elevator. If the
I love
elevator hadn't been invented by James Otis, then things would have been completely different. Because now, like, no one wants to walk up 70 flights of stairs. So the invention of the elevator enabled and allowed people to now build vertically. Make sense?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. T, what's up?
There are also a lot of factors.
You have to speak louder. I'm sorry.
There are also a lot of factors going into building a building, like you need cranes and stuff like that. But would you say elevator is the biggest thing that you need for a tall building to happen?
Absolutely. The tallest building in the world, in 1870 was only 10 stories. I'm sorry, no, it was only 5 stories, excuse me. It was a 5-story building. And then in 1880, they built a 10-story building. And then finally in 1885, they built a 15-story building in Chicago made of steel. And that, like, people didn't walk by that building because they thought it was going to blow over or fall down on them because they couldn't believe how big it was. Like, I've walked in, you walk downtown New York or whatnot, and you're kind of like, oh, New York, yeah. But when you walk by those buildings, I mean, seriously, it's kind of crazy to think how tall those are, but there's no structural integrity at risk. Like those things aren't coming down. Even though they are so tall, the Burj Dubai, the Burj Khalifa building, that's 168 stories. It's over 2,000 feet tall. It's more than a mile tall. It's a half mile tall. But because it's built from steel, that makes it's not going to fall over. T, what's up? And then I'm going to press on.
Building in Dubai, is it what occupations are going on in the building, or is it just like a tourist?
So some of it's business, some of it's offices, some of it's condo, some of it's hotel, and some of it is simply just stores like a mall. Some of it's parking too. Kind of cray-cray. Okay, now, so Chicago burns to the ground. America's largest company becomes Standard Oil, as I kind of mentioned earlier. But now we have urbanization happening, okay? Urbanization to the nth degree. Now, we see that there are going to be a lot of positive and negative impacts of urbanization. Some of those negative things are going to be pollution. As more people are going to be in the cities, that means more garbage. Sewer systems need to be built. People used to literally still throw their waste out the window into the alleyways. So you could be walking in downtown New York and be like, ah, crap, literally, as it like falls on you, which would be pretty horrible. Also, you know, there are no building codes back then. So you could build a building without running water or without electricity and nobody thought anything about it. And so there would be certain parts of the building where you would never see the sunlight at all, ever. It'd be dark all the time. So one of the things that the Gilded Age showed us was that we need to have some building codes and building regulations. Also, we have a lot of people moving into these urban areas, overcrowdedness, lack of resources, right? Now, one of the things too, this is kind of a cool concept to think about. During the Gilded Age, this was the first time ever in world history, not just US, world history, people started to move away from major food sources. Back in the day, you lived near the food. You lived near a farm that produced the food. You lived near an agricultural center that shipped you the meat, etc. This is the first time in world history you don't have to live near a food source. If you think about it, we don't live near food sources. We live near grocery stores. That's different. We don't live near farms. There's not a farm in my neighborhood, okay? Like I had steak last night. I didn't walk up to a neighbor and be like, hey, you got a cattle you can kill so I can eat it? No, I went to Publix, okay? And who knows where that meat's from? So this is the first time we see that people don't need to actually geographically be near food. It can be shipped via railroad. It can be brought via wagon. And now we have refrigeration style methods. So it's kind of cool when you think about it like that. You know where I'm going? Yay, nay? Everyone give me a thumbs up. Everyone give me a thumbs up on your little thing if you know what I'm talking about.
Reactions.
I want emoji responses to make sure that everyone's paying attention. There's a lot of you don't have your screen showing, and I'm okay with that because I know it's 9:50 in the morning and you guys are tough to look at. That's fine.
I don't know how to make it thumbs up.
That's okay.
Oh,
Yep. Okay, cool. All right, very good. Thank you for the thumbs ups. Okay. Now,
Give you an applause.
or a thumb or whatever you gave me, some of you. Now, if you think about urbanization and the movement to the cities, in 1870, only 25% of America lived in urban areas. By 1910, that number is going to jump to be over 50%. And today, the United States is more urban than rural. In 1950, Georgia finally became more urban than rural. And the idea is, what does the city bring us? What can you get more out of an urban area than a rural area? Just yell out the answers. Jobs. What else?
Money.
Opportunities.
More opportunities.
Education.
What else?
Like events?
Yeah, more events, like social events, right?
Yeah.
Like magically the Atlanta Braves play in Atlanta. They don't play in Fitzgerald, Georgia, because no one lives in Fitzgerald, Georgia. See where I'm going with that? Yay, nay? Think about
Yeah.
it from a hospital's perspective now. Like what's going on right now with the coronavirus, the unfortunate situation. Which kinds of places are being more affected than others?
Urban.
Urban areas. New York and New Orleans are becoming the hot spots, unfortunately, for this virus. I was clicking around on the map yesterday to see what areas have not been affected or there's been minimal affected rates. And very, very rural areas only show like 1 or 2 cases. You click on urban areas, that number's staggering high because there's also that interconnectedness. So now what's another effect of urbanization? What's going to spread?
Disease.
Disease. Yep. So now we're going to see disease spread. And so now that's going to be a problem. And so because disease is now spread, we have that issue as well. You picking up what I'm putting down?
Yeah.
I feel like at this point, before they knew how to like control the diseases, urbanization had more downsides than rural did, like in the 1800s.
Yes, absolutely. T, question.
So we learn about like this stuff in your class. When back then when these things were happening, what were they learning about? Because I know in the future they're probably going to be learning about the coronavirus.
So it's kind of funny. Social studies wasn't a class that was taught in school until the 1920s.
Do you think in the future coronavirus will be taught in social studies?
Absolutely, because there'll be stuff they'll have like pandemic stuff. They'll be mentioning of pandemic. I assigned the 7th graders a 10-page doc to read with 9 questions to answer.
That's my sister.
So, I mean, they need it. It's important. Okay. Now, I know I asked you this. This is how you get your participation points of the day. Go in the chat, just create the chat part. Okay. So create the chat. So everyone's going to send me a message. Not private. You can send it privately or publicly. I don't care. This is how you get your participation points for the day. Provide me one impact or effect of immigration. Type me a message and type it in and give me one impact of immigration.
Anything negative or positive?
Negative or positive. So type. Type me a message that shows that of an impact of immigration, private or public, doesn't matter to me. I'll give everyone a minute. Okay. So give me
Everyone's
one
saying the
impact.
same thing.
Give me one impact of immigration. Can be positive or negative.
Everybody just took mine.
That's okay. See, I'm secretive right now. You guys didn't realize I was going to be like, yeah, participation point. Here you go. If you think about it, do you think we actually, it's kind of crazy because immigration is always a hotbed issue. And with immigration, these are great answers, by the way. Who's JTSKIS? I just don't know who that is.
I don't want to put my last
Oh,
name.
Jack. Okay, no, it's okay. I just want to know that way I know who I'm talking with. That's all. Thank you, Jack. That's fine. Thank you. All right, cool. Giddy up. Good. Okay, now I'm gonna from a content perspective, I'm gonna end on this note, and then I'm gonna introduce next week's stuff. Capiche? Okay. Now, yes. What's up?
So should we wait to start the stuff until we have you next week, or should we just start it and then we'll talk about it?
I was gonna give you permission to start it. I was actually gonna mention that in my little rant. So, but you can start. But I'll go on my little rant. We'll go from there. Capiche?
Yep.
Okay. So, in terms of immigration, we today, like 21st century America, we are living in the impacted era of immigration still. If you really think about it, we're all immigrants. Yeager mentioned in his assignment, where he mentioned some of the pros and cons or whatnot. He was like, my father came here from a different country. I'm the direct impact or result of immigration. There are a lot of pros and cons of immigration. Immigration will always have pros and cons. Immigration will always bring cheap labor. Immigration will always bring a workforce that's desired and necessary. Immigration always, unfortunately, though, brings people into countries where they will take lower wage jobs because they're willing to do jobs that people living in that country don't necessarily want to do. So, for example, custodial jobs or yard landscaping jobs or janitorial style jobs or busy work jobs like moving shelves or not moving shelves, like stocking shelves or folding clothing, stuff like that. jobs that don't require a lot of skill. So low skill jobs, okay, low to practically zero skill jobs are jobs that immigrants generally take. Some of the reasons why: language barrier, not knowing the language in the home country. Also, simply, you have to have an opportunity to get a job, so you're willing to do a low income, low paying job to get a start. Another thing too is because there's a language barrier, even though you may possess a lot of skills, your ability to communicate with someone else prevents you from moving up in the ranks. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
T, what's up?
You don't have to have an education to do these jobs.
I can't hear you. Please speak up.
You don't have to have a good education. You just need to have, or like a limited education to do these jobs.
That's correct as well. Education is a big factor. Like, I would say that I'm a fairly decent educated person, but if I move to China, I'm probably not going to get a good job right off the bat because I don't speak Chinese. And so it'd be very hard for me to even know what's going on. So if you think about it, you really need to have the language to work in your favor, so that way you can get the opportunities. So another thing too, this is a major positive impact of immigration. If you really chew on it, culture is spread. And since culture is spread, that's massive. We eat Chinese food. We eat pizza. We eat spaghetti. We eat ethnic foods, Moroccan foods, Korean foods. We also are exposed to that type of culture and that type of dress. So we're aware of ethnic cultures. Places like Little Italy in New York, Chinatown in San Francisco, we're exposed to these things. And because of our exposure to this different ethnic culture, we then also become more educated about people outside of just our realm. Ari, do you have a question?
I have another class that starts now. Should I go to that class or stay here?
Yeah, what class is it? Like math?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yep, that's fine. If you have to start another class, you can go. Be good.
Okay,
Thank you.
Trey.
You're welcome. I'll end on this because I know some of you guys, your math is starting to show up in this case. I made a little video podcast that talked a little bit about immigration. I created a video, in the document, it talks a lot about the positive and negative effects of immigration, to which the answers are good. You're going to start the progressive era next week. And the progressive era is the reason why, the Gilded Age causes the progressive era. If it weren't for the Gilded Age, we wouldn't have the progressive era. We're going to see all of these social, political, and economic factors and problems happen in the Gilded Age, and that's then going to create reforms and changes during the progressive era. I want everyone to give me a thumbs up that they are paying attention right now.
My screen just
Give a thumbs up.
I don't know what just happened, but
Oh,
all I can see is you, and you're in like the top left of my screen.
Okay.
So I'll try and get back to the.
Okay. All right. Now, last thing, everyone, just type "be good to me" and you're okay. So I got it. Never mind. 5 of you are like, you don't have the options. You're good. I see you now. Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you, Soph. Thank you. Okay, very good. Thanks, D. Thanks. All right. So,
Yeah.
on the blog, I've posted next week's assignments. There's a video podcast I created that introduces it. I've also got a couple of documents up there for you to read. One big document with a couple of set questions to break up, and we'll go from there. I will continually make like 2 or 3 minute YouTube videos as we go, and I'll put them on Instagram, and I'll also put them on the blog so you guys can watch them. And you know that I'm available for you to reach out to me if you have any questions. Bish?
Hush.
If none of you have any questions regarding any of the assignments, you can take off and have a great rest of the day. And I miss you very much, and be good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. so
much.
You're very welcome.
Thank
I'll be
you.
checking my email after this and responding to emails that I got from a number of you. And if
Be
any of you have
good.
any questions, I'll stick around and answer them for you.
Thank you.
You're
you.
welcome.
thank you.
Mr. Barry.
Mm-hmm.
On my phone. I don't know why, but it doesn't save my dad's email, and it says he's Dave Matthews.
That's kind of cool. Must be nice to have your dad be Dave Matthews.
Yeah. All right. Be good. I'll see you later.
All right, sounds good. You too. Have a great day.
For the presidential projects,
Yes.
put them all on one doc and just do the ones on the blog.
Yes, please. And just send me that one doc, please.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, bye, Mr. Ray.
All right, see ya. You guys have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.